Alrighty, hitting the go live here, and we got to get our Facebook group in here because we don't want to leave our Facebook peeps out in the cold for Broncos for breakfast. You know, they're not sitting at the kids' table today. All 5 check marks are in, and welcome in, welcome in. It is 7:30 Mountain Time, God's time, as I like to say, and it's time for another episode of Broncos for breakfast. And I'm Nick Kendell, and joined by Scott Kennedy. Scott, how are you doing today? I wasn't sure I was going to be here today, but it all worked out.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that. So I'm glad that you are here. I wasn't prepared to go solo, so I'm certainly glad you're here today.
Yeah, no, it was maybe we were gonna do a hike today depending on the weather, but it was nice enough yesterday, and we got back. We took the 5:40 ferry. So actually today is the latest I've woken up in about 3 or 4 days with my 5:45 a.m. alarm. So I'm giving my parents, who are visiting from eastern Iowa, a chance to sleep in today while I'm here working again. So
We had
it's
an
been great.
8 a.m. match an hour from my house, so we got there at 6:55 on Sunday morning. So my son's a middle schooler, so they don't start till after 9. He's like, I
Yep.
got to sleep in. School starts.
Yep, that's
So I could be begging for school to start, buddy.
It's been a good time though, seeing the parents. We just got back from the San Juan Islands up north, in between. Like, Washington kind of makes a hand, and there's the peninsula. There's some glaciated islands right next to Victoria Island, Vancouver, and Washington, and the Olympics. Beautiful place. There's a bunch of islands you can get to 4 by ferry, and while we went to one of the mountains for a view, we could see for feet because there was so much clouds and mist and whatnot. Classic Pacific Northwest. Traded that in. A day later, we went out on a 4-hour whale watch tour, and we saw killer whales for about 3-4 hours, and we saw them make 3 separate kills. And it was a pot of 5, and it was a mother with 5 or 4 young males, and she was teaching them how to kill the seal. And it was cruel, but also it was indescribable. It was really incredible.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the cycle. It's just you mentioned the word cruel. They don't call those things nice whales. They're not making kosher kills. The killer whales can do some pretty dastardly stuff.
Yeah.
Out there, playing with their food and turning baby seals into a badminton back and forth with their tails. I mean, they do some crazy stuff. But for my money, they're the baddest thing on the planet, hands down. I mean, you can go lion, you can go elephant. Orcas are the baddest thing on the planet. And what's amazing is I don't think there's been, welcome to, nature show for breakfast.
Got to do a David Attenborough.
I don't think there's been in the wild, a documented attack on a human. They're very curious, but they're, I mean, you see some of these pictures, these people canoeing over these whales that are 3 times the size of their canoe. And I'm like, I'd just soon have a little safer distance between me and wildlife. I know they're extremely intelligent, but I don't want to be the first.
Yeah, then you would be the first, because killer whales, there's never been a reported attack on killer whales on a human, which makes no sense. It does, because they're kings of the ocean.
But say that's not our food. What are you guys? What are you 2-legged, goofy looking things? You don't look like food. Who are you? They're unbelievably intelligent.
Yeah, we saw 3 separate seal kills. We also saw a few spy hops where they stick their whole head out and kind of look around for a second, which is crazy. And we saw a few full breaches as well by the youngest male. So if you ever get a chance to go out in the San Juan Islands, hit me up, because I'm coming with. No, but it's unbelievably beautiful.
Check it out for sure. That's a great time.
Well, let's get to football now. As guys, welcome in. This is Broncos for breakfast. You can find Scott and myself on Twitter. Scott, of course, at Scout Kennedy, and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. While you guys are over on Twitter, follow us at Mile High Huddle, as well as at Huddle Up Pod. Our Facebook folks, we already got the likes in here, of course. The man, the myth, the legend, coming in with the heart. We heart back at you, buddy. Gary Leeds Palmer with the heart already in here. We also got the likes from Rob Williams, Steve Lazuski, DeAndre Weatherspoon, Louis Roybal. So good to see you guys. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, also please make sure you go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, become a supporter. Also, you can check out facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You're going to see all our content there and conversations. Obviously, the main place where we're going to have conversations here is in the chat during the live stream. But if you guys add us or join the conversations on those pages as well, that'd be greatly appreciated. And if you're just dying for more Bronco content, the 45 minutes to an hour you get on here isn't enough, go on to Facebook. If you guys are joining us on YouTube today, please make sure you subscribe, like, and share. That is so important, and it costs you absolutely nothing. It's the second most helpful thing you can do to this channel, to this show, to Scott and myself. Subscribe, like, and share to Mile High Huddle, as well as youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. I'm going to drop his auto sub right here. If you guys just click that link, it'll take you to his channel. He's going to have draft content, general NFL content, and I'm sure because of this relationship here, more and more Broncos specific content as well as we move forward. So really excited about that. Scott, do you have anything that's new, that's fresh, hot off the press?
Nope, not just yet. A lot, like I said last week, a lot of the old stuff is bubbling to the surface. A lot of comments on the Senior Bowl guys as the mainstream, the general public, the next level of crazy fans. You know, there's people like us, the full-on lunatics. Then there's the, okay, camp started, I'm interested. And then there's the game day people who pretty much only watch. So we're to the second level of fans that are starting to learn about these guys, the new guys to the team and stuff.
Yeah, nope, absolutely. It's good to see you guys. Also, if you're new, welcome in. Obviously, we'll have some new listeners here as everything is really starting to get going. And like I said, if you guys subscribe, like, and share, that's probably the second most helpful thing you can do to this show, to this channel, to make sure you keep the lights on for Scott and myself for Broncos for Breakfast. Chad wasn't sure a morning show would be profitable, if there'd be enough interest there. So if you subscribe, like, and share, let him know on Twitter. Also, that helps a lot. Number one thing you can do, though, be like our guy Max Power here, coming in with a 2 pound Max Power across the pond there, saying, hi guys, any thoughts on trading for CJ Henderson? And Max is always consistently coming in and supporting the show with these super chats like this. So be like Max. And Max is doing what he can to keep the lights on here for us. Because, I mean, while we do seem like we're going to stick around here for a little bit because you guys have been showing the love, it's always it's a rough business out there, right? It's eat or be eaten. So when Max is helping us, we're eating.
And that's how we got started with the killer whales this morning. I mean, we've come full circle.
Exactly. See, that's boom. That's why we work, Scott. Perfect little lead there. But Max coming in. Hi guys, any thoughts for trading for CJ Henderson? Max, the first thing I will say is, don't you dare whisper this to George Payton, because he would be on the phone right now, because that man has a ravenous hunger for cornerbacks. He's never seen a cornerback that he wouldn't consider. I mean, I was talking on Twitter the other day. Somebody's like, oh, what do you think the Broncos' first round pick could be next year? I'm like, well, quarterback is obviously the one that until you have it, you have to list it. But the other two positions, edge and offensive tackle, maybe interior defensive line. Somebody's like, well, what about cornerback? I'm like, dear God, I guess it could happen again because it's such a valuable position and you need more. But like at some point, you have to fill out the rest of the roster. But CJ Henderson.
At least you're talking about players where you can put 5 of them on the field at one time. You know,
True.
Dan Reeves, when he was general manager in Atlanta, kept drafting tight ends and kept trading away draft picks. You know, he traded away what ended up being the rights to Jamal Lewis to draft another tight end. Jamal Lewis. Yeah, not that I'm bitter. I don't hold on to grudges or anything. So, you know, at least you're talking about a place where, you know, you can put multiple guys on the field, for goodness sakes.
The cornerback is one of those positions where the more you have, the better typically, but there probably has to be a point of diminishing returns where it's like, okay, like we need to do something with the offensive line, quarterback position, wide receiver, edge rusher, etc. But CJ Henderson, he's very talented. And before the Broncos drafted, honestly, the more I learned about his scheme last year, there's some similarities between CJ Henderson and the profile of Caleb Farley. The long, the off cornerback, some tackling issues, but the click and close, the fluidity, the explosiveness, I mean, they're incredible. There does seem to be some real issues there with CJ Henderson, maybe some off the field concerns. He's already, I think he hasn't reported to Jags camp here, so I can't speak to exactly what's going on with CJ Henderson, but if he's available for a 4th round pick, even though the Broncos cornerback room is already, filled to the max, I would say, he's just too talented that I wouldn't be interested in taking a swing unless there's something very concerning going on off the field, which is possible. I don't know.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I was going to say cut rate, flat out, let's put this in a Twitter size bite. If he's available for cut rate, then yes, but you want low risk, high reward. They spent a high pick on him, top 10. It was 7 or 8 or 9, somewhere in that neighborhood. 9. No, you're not giving a 1st round pick for him. Someone they're giving up on after 1 year. No way. 2nd round, no. You can do better than that, especially in other positions where you need to fill a hole. where you typically get your next level players, linebackers, safeties, interior linemen, those type of things in the second round. Third round, maybe. Fourth round, okay, now I'm interested. If I burn a fourth round pick on this guy and have to waive him, so be it. They're eating all the dead cap money anyway.
Exactly.
But other than that, it's not a position of need by any stretch of the imagination, as long as everybody stays healthy. And this guy's got some luggage, some baggage he's bringing with him. Why would Jacksonville give up on him this quick within a year after a meh rookie season? That I think I don't think so. Fourth round would be the earliest I'd consider it. I agree with you, Nick.
He just reeks of a Kansas City Chiefs trade possibility, because they are trying to go for it now. That's a team that could use some cornerback depth, and they take the character concerns left and right.
Well, and the thing is when the Patriots have made a living on this stuff,
That's
rehabilitating
true also,
guys like this, because they've got enough veterans and we don't need you need us mentality. Like, listen, if you want to come in here and work and win, great, come on, you're going to do it at a cut rate, and then maybe you'll sign a big contract with your next contract after you've rehabilitated your reputation. But they're not going to give up anything for him. But people are willing to take less money, to take more of a chance, to go into an organization like that where they are going to be elevated. The Denver Broncos aren't there just yet. No. They can be, but we've seen this before, that winning ends up being the best recruiter. So I again, for CJ Henderson, my quick answer is no. You don't make a trade for him. If they're giving him away, you take him, but you don't make a trade for him.
Yeah, yep, that's a big one. I agree with you there completely. The other team that jumps out to me, any teams that are like, oh my God, we do or die this season, we got to go for it right now. We could use a cornerback. If I was the Packers, I would probably see if he's available at all, because watching Kevin King get absolutely toasted by the Tampa Bay Tom Brady's last year. They already have arguably the number 2 or 3 best cornerback in football, Jair Alexander. Get CJ Henderson out there, just get more talent in the cornerback room. You got a chance in the NFC. I mean, it's really just Tampa Bay and Green Bay, in my opinion, right now.
Just up the road, who needs defensive backs more than anybody in the league? The Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
They got AJ Terrell after there goes the light. I told you
boom.
Go. I said the spot here on this side is making I'm about to burn out sounds. So hopefully that's not too distracting.
The sunset on the Braves there.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that they can be in the dark. I'm okay with that. So otherwise, I'm gonna plug right along here.
No, we're doing great. I think it's a good. Go ahead.
I wouldn't want the Falcons. You're not giving anything up for them. If they're giving them away, you take him. But you're not giving up. You're not giving up a bunch of draft capital for a guy who they're giving up on after 1 year. No way.
100%. And a good transition here with that light burning out, saying, okay, enough CJ Henderson talk, but let's say hello to some people.
Come on.
Darab saying good morning. Good to you, Darab. Hopefully, for pronouncing it wrong, if you're going to come in here and join the conversation, the least I can do is get your name right. So if you can give me a phonetic pronunciation, I would love to do that for you. We got Dakota in the house as well. US Dave's in the house. Good to see you. Morning to you. Dave Glassman, always good to see you. Quincy Keyshaw is in the house. Mo Ron. Morning, Nick and Scott. Good to see you. Stephen Baumgartner. He says, morning, everyone. I can't believe he didn't say, oh, here it is. Okay. Drew Lock is my quarterback. There it goes. Are you kidnapped, Stephen? Where's the other comment? Tom's in the house. He says, what's up, guys? I hear the quarterback battle is getting heated up. And Fan almost slipped up saying who his favorite quarterback is. I don't think he was saying who his favorite quarterback is. I think he was trying to play it politically correct. But all he was going to say was that Teddy Bridgewater is more accurate, which, okay, duh. Ronjo in the house. Morning, all. Falling Sloth. Good morning, Broncos country. Jeremy Sean. Morning, fellas. Clee Torres with a nice comment here with a fish going on in that picture there, man. I had so much good seafood this weekend. This show is so much better than the evening show. Why can't you guys have that slot instead? Clee, we appreciate you, but there is plenty of pieces of pie to go around. And also, I co-host 2 evening shows, so this is really just Scott propaganda as far as I'm concerned. But
where's Willie? Willie loves me. Where's in the shop with Willie? Willie's my biggest fan.
Willie. Yeah.
So
Willie.
No, tell your friends. Let's make this the show. It's when Chad and I first started talking about this in January or February, I said let's do drive time. Let's do drive time for December. This is a good time for people to be on here. Put it on and listen. I don't know if there's better audio ways so you're not eating up your data, but doesn't everybody have unlimited data at this point anyway? But, I thought drive time would be a good idea. And so far it's been good. We're working on April, May, June, July. This is our 5th month, bud.
Jesus. That's a lot, man. There's a lot of my hot air on YouTube at this point. DeAndre coming in here. Good morning, guys. Go Broncos. Good morning to you, DeAndre. Victor Rios is in the house. Good to see Robert Kitchens. If our quarterbacks don't play well, could you see us getting Rivers? I don't think that's going to happen. I think the timing of Rivers saying that to Carson Wentz's foot injury news is not a coincidence.
So I think 72 years old.
You know what?
At this, as old as I am. Is there a different Rivers we're talking about here? He's as old as I am.
It's probably one of his 52 kids that he must be talking about. Falling.
He's got to have kids coming through the process by now. That's how I've met all. When I was doing recruiting, that's how I met all my childhood heroes, because they all had kids going through the recruiting process.
Yeah, no, it's I think he has enough kids to fill out his own football team or
he's
own
39,
one side.
So he's just a young buck.
Okay, yeah, honestly, if he protects the football, but that's never been Philip Rivers' strong suit. So. He did take a team to the playoffs last year, so I guess it is a possibility. But is he actually going to be that much better than Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater at this point in his career? I don't know. Now, the one thing you would say is that he would bring unquestionable leadership to that team and that side of the football, which they do not have right now. So it's something to ponder. I do think if Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater look like absolute garbage this Saturday, maybe, or in the joint practices, maybe I'll start banging that drum. We'll see. Fallen Sloth saying, wow, that's incredible. Predation is always so rare to see in the wild. What a treat. Yeah, it was incredible.
Joining us late, we were talking about Nick's seeing orcas doing their killer whale stuff.
Yep, that's what he's responding to here. I'm still working down the chat.
I know, that was a while ago.
Stoked Fly Fishing had just jumped in, and I don't know what's going on, but killer whales are awesome. Go Broncos. They were awesome. Thank you so much. It was pretty darn cool to see. I'm serious, guys. It was incredible. Let's talk about that quarterback lock. We're going to get the lock here in a second. Robert Caslo's in the house. Joseph T. Fisher. Rick Loveland's in the house. Good to see you. We got, Peter Middleton's in the house. Hey, guys. And then Andrew Lampy coming in with the stars, no doubt about it. And Peter also with the stars, which I had more stars to send. We'll do next week. And he says, bug stars.
No, we got several comments on who was just ahead of that gave the stars. Was it Andrew Lampy? We got Andrew. You must have nailed it because you got a bunch of comments on that. Thank you very much.
Yep. And still talking about stars. Gary Leeds Palmer coming in as well. My dudes, Nick and Scott for breakfast. Well, be careful on that one. What could be better? Go Broncos. I don't know how nutritious I am, but I guess not nutritious enough for those orca whales. So they pick out. They're very meticulous too. They use sonar on their predators, so they find the most fatty, dense, nutritious areas, and they leave the rest. So
I need to start cutting weight. I started yesterday, so
I ever since moving to the Pacific Northwest, I've lost a good bit of weight, but that's because I've been hiking almost every weekend. Kyle coming in. Unpopular opinion. It's okay to be skeptical of Drew and dislike Teddy as the number 2 option in town while still wanting the team to succeed. Kyle, there's only one wrong way to be a fan, and that is to tell others how you can be a fan. Unless you're harassing the players, like being in as a grown adult, that's another wrong way. I would gatekeep that one. But I hate people saying, well, you're only a true fan if X. There are many ways to fan, as long as you're being somewhat respectful. You do you. Just don't be a gatekeep fan. Those are the absolute worst.
There's a difference between loyalty and blind loyalty.
Yes.
And if you're not skeptical about the QB position, period, on this team, you're just blindly loyal. And if you're questioning people who have doubts about the quarterback position, I call those defenders of the program type people, and they drive me nuts. Yep. Trust the coaches. Well, I trust coaches to do what they think is right. I don't trust coaches to always make the right decision at all. I mean, there's a zillion chances. I mean, examples of them making the wrong decisions. So if your answer to everything is, well, you should just trust the coaches, or you have to support this guy blindly, then you probably shouldn't be in a forum like this where we're discussing these things, because that's why we're discussing them, is because they're fallible and there's different ways to do things. And we want to explore all the options, and we want to know what you think about all the options. So you won't have any problem with us. I think both of us and a lot of people in the chat here are skeptical, period, about the quarterback situation with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, and I know they say that perfect is the enemy of good, but I have that thing in my brain where I'm always critiquing anything. I mean, I'll be out on a beautiful hike, and it'll be great views. Everything's fine. I'll be like, man, I wish it was a little clearer. Or man, I wish there was a little bit of a breeze. Or man, I wish the sun was just out a little bit more, or there wasn't clouds over that peak right there. And it's like, just enjoy being here. But sometimes it's just, I wouldn't say I'm a glass half empty kind of guy, but it's just like, okay, what could take this to the next level? And that's probably actually what got me into the draft and team building conversations in general. Even those Super Bowl teams with Peyton Manning. Okay, can we build the offensive line a little bit better? Can we get a little bit better in the linebacker core, et cetera, et cetera? So that's why we're here, and we enjoyed a lot. And Peter coming in here, speaking about getting a little bit better. So I said Strnad was overlooked after the draft and that Browning would be a disappointment. Glad to be right about Strnad and hope Browning proves me wrong. It's still wait and see for me for Strnad because there have been some plays where he's been absolutely dusted by the tight end position. And that's Noah Fant, first round pick, doing Noah Fant things. But Browning, it's the same boat as imagine a year ago and we were making grand sweeping judgments about McTelvin Najim, who is like, oh my gosh, he barely played anything last year. He didn't look very good when he played, et cetera, et cetera. And this year's camp, he's been killing it. He's been flashing constantly. That's the same boat as Browning. You need to put him in a box. Just put him away for a little bit. It's kind of like a plant. You planted the seed and you go back and check it the next day and there's not even a sprout yet. That's okay. It's not dead. It's not a wasted seed yet. You just got to keep nurturing it and come back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, let the team cultivate it, I guess, in that case. And then let's judge it there because it's going to take a little bit of time for Browning, especially because he's now behind the 8 ball this season with the injuries he's had. But he is by far not for loss yet.
No, in where was he drafted? 3rd round, I believe.
The very last pick of day 2. I think it was pick.
Okay, so that's an investment. If whatever you get out of him this year is just a bonus. Even if he comes in and contributes on special teams. But one of the questions we had a couple weeks ago was, is he injury prone? I'm like, I don't think so. I didn't get that feeling. You go back and look, and he played about 40 games at Ohio State. I don't think he missed many. And that's playing a high level every week, and didn't miss many games because of injury. So don't give up on him just yet by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just patience. We got Casey coming in here saying, Scott, you might have already answered this, but what's your opinion on the Texas-Oklahoma situation?
I think we're finally legitimizing the professionalism of college football. The National Coalition Against Athletes is a communist, suppressing labor, suppressing everything. They are completely, what they do to football players, I think, is borderline criminal. We can get into a lot of those things. And, one of the problems is, amongst everyday fans is they see people getting a scholarship to college, say, well, I had to work my ass off to go to college and these guys are getting to go for free. I'm like, yeah, no, forget it. That's apples and oranges. These guys are out here generating billions of dollars for a company, and they're getting paid, pennies on the dollar. If you've got a 60,000 student Ohio State University with all the infrastructure already built, and you say, well, that scholarship's worth $25,000 a year. That might be what it's worth, but what's it cost? What's it cost Ohio State to take one kid and pluck him in and just drop him into a 60,000 university body? Nothing. Doesn't cost them anything. It's all profit. So I think we're witnessing the destruction of the. It's not even the. I wouldn't even say the destruction of the amateurism, because it's not amateurism. It's not. Yeah. Not in big time college sports. There's way too much money involved to be called that. So this is one of the big blows. We've been inching towards it. This is a big step towards the NCAA becoming less and less relevant. Yeah, no, it's feels like something's about to come here. This feels like there's some bubbling here, and there might be a death toll on the way. We got Ronjo coming in here saying, any news about the scuffle between Garrett Bowles and Bradley Chubb? Never heard any details about how it ended up. Is it all good now? This is going to happen in camp sometimes. It's a physical game, and these are relatively young men, right? Also, so they're not as wise or as grown as some, and it's a violent game also. So sometimes you're going to have this happen, and it's not the worst thing in the world, as long as they can, compartmentalize, move on. And it does sound like they've both moved on from this. So I don't have any issues about this. And it would have been weird if you didn't have anything ever come up, especially the trench players all the way through camp. You should be a bunch of snow skiers here with the Broncos fans. I say, did you fall down a lot? If you're not falling down, you're not trying hard enough to get better.
Mhm.
You're not trying hard enough to improve. If there's no fights in August in training camp, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. These are grown men. They'll put it behind them. As long as nobody's, a scuffle, as long as nobody's going after knees or trying to actually injure somebody, these guys aren't going to hurt each other, and they know that. They're just gonna have some pushy shovey and they'll move on. No problem. You should have some dust ups without a doubt.
Yep. It's when it transpires into massive on the field brawls with your quarterback ending up at the bottom.
And then you're worried about people getting hurt under piles and stuff like that. You see somebody swinging a helmet, you're going to be a little nervous. But pushy shovey, come on, this isn't anything. That's nothing. It's grappling. Anybody with siblings has gone through that. You're still going to fight for one another on game day.
Absolutely. And it's also to the point of camp right now where these guys are probably getting a little tired of going at each other.
Oh, they're going to love having a common enemy going out and practicing against somebody else. They will absolutely love it. We talk about that, Nick, in here. Yep. When you can see when the chats start getting a little chippy, when people start going at each other, no, Locke's the guy, no, Locke sucks, this, you're an idiot. Guys, chill. Let's focus on the Vikings. Oh, yeah, they suck. Now we're all together again.
100%. Yep, that's what we're getting to here. And there's nobody more excited about this week of combined practice than the actual players themselves. Nobody makes me more excited than Steve Sconey coming in here with the $5 super chat over on YouTube, also with a very cute doggo pic, making the crescent roll looks like there with the picture over on YouTube. Thank you very much, Steve. And he says, I listen after the fact, but have a day off to recover from canoe camping on the Wisconsin River, the White River. Let me know, because that sounds amazing. Speaking of the San Juans, you can go yak packing out there. There's a few small islands that are only accessible by personal boat. God bless. Sign me up. I'm going to take the doggo out on a kayak with me and go do some yak packing out there. That'd be a good time. Is this a waste?
90-pound German Shepherd that's afraid of everything. Oh no. God, if I tried to get him on my kayak, he would just freak out. Oh, good Lord.
I follow an Instagrammer out here who does a bunch of outdoor stuff, a lot of crabbing, fishing, etc. And they have a dog that they go kayak yak packing with.
My last Shepherd was a Shepherd lab mix. You know how labs love the water. Oh God, yes. He would have had the life jacket on and a paddle. He'd be like, "Come on."
Yep, let's go. Well, they have a picture of their dog with a killer whale that came up next to the boat, which is would scare the hell out of me, but it made a really cool picture. Yeah. But it comes in here. I listen after the fact. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Is this a wasted roster if both quarterbacks bomb, or is there some time? I know there's been an argument going around Broncos country where like this was the year to go get the roster and go get the quarterback because there is going to be a lot of turnover after this year. And while that is somewhat true, I am curious how much actual turnover there's going to be compared to a regular season, because a lot of teams, if you're like, oh my gosh, you're losing 33% of the roster this year, that's the average, right? Like most teams,
everybody. If you go to Spot Rack and go click on, free agents and sort by team, it looks like the entire team. There'll be 40 players whose contract expire after this year.
Yep.
That's normal. I mean, that's normal. So for me, and let me take this one, Nick, and Steve, appreciate the contribution. Is this a wasted roster? Wasted roster if both bomb. It's a wasted season. Yep. It's a wasted season if both bomb, because the roster's set up where you can be a playoff contender. And once you're in the playoffs with a defense like this and the playmakers on this, you can take your shot. But it's not a wasted roster because you're not missing your window. Now, if the quarterback situation isn't settled in the next 2 years, you start to wonder a little bit, because then people want to start leaving. Yep. Then they'll want to leave and go play somewhere else. So I won't say if they bomb this year, it's a wasted roster, because you'll have enough control and be able to bring guys in. But it means you better do something next year, without a doubt. You better make a splash for the quarterback next year to get people reinvigorated, or it will be a wasted roster. There's too much talent on this to have call them donut teams. Donut teams. I've called the University of Texas Longhorns a donut team for a long time. It means you got a big hole in the middle at the quarterback position. And you don't want to be a donut team.
It's been the case for half a decade now in Denver, but we've seen other teams. I'm sure everyone's seen the meme of the Browns fan with the jersey with the 20 names written in with crossed out and finally get the one. But I will say this is a conversation, like I said, it's been coming up about the Broncos wasting this roster this year. they're going to lose a lot of guys after the season, but they're also going to have a lot of cap room. And how many actual core building block pieces are set to hit the market? Like true guys that are no doubt build around pieces. You locked up Justin Simmons. You locked up Garrett Bowles. The only guy on defense that I can think of that is like a, momentum roster, total culture changing that you might lose this year is Von Miller. But Von Miller is going to be 31, 32 years old off the top of my head.
And he was out last year anyway. So
yes, exactly.
You're not missing something that was contributing last year. So you've been a year. You didn't like it. You didn't like not having him, but you know what life without Von Miller is like.
And the other one is Cortland Sutton. And same thing. You know what life without Cortland Sutton would be? Tim Patrick was pretty good. Jerry Jeudy sounds like he's taken a massive step forward this year. Drew Lock's even said that he's just unbelievably, he's grown so much. So Von Miller and Cortland Sutton, the rest of this young core roster, Simmons, Bowles, Fant, Jeudy, Bradley Chubb, Draymond Jones, etc., still locked up multiple years. Surtain. So I don't think it's a do or die season.
There's some leaders in there, without a doubt. Kareem Jackson.
Yeah, but they cut him and they were ready to move on. It also sounds like Caden Stearns is having a hell of a camp. They're going to be able to replace him for, that fourth round rookie. So I'm not as worried about Kareem Jackson, but you're right about the leadership.
But you start stacking it though, and you start looking at the spine of the team and you say, okay, Von Miller, okay, there's, locker room. Then you go Kareem Jackson. Kyle Fuller's on a 1-year deal.
Yep.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Bridgewater.
We'll see. But again, we talked about if the quarterback's bomb, he ain't coming back anyway.
Yeah.
So
both linebackers, potentially
Alexander Johnson. Again, like I talked about the spine right up the middle. But there's money to re-sign those guys.
Mm-hmm.
There is. You can make your decisions on that.
And those are the guys where you look at the roster right now, and it's just to tie it back to our talk earlier about Baron Browning. You have 3rd and 4th round picks from last year or 2 years ago that are hopefully developing slowly behind the scenes that can come up and replace those guys. We saw last year Michael Ojemudia up and down. It'll be year 3 for him next year. What the Broncos do at the cornerback position will have a lot to do with what's going on behind the scenes with Michael Ojemudia. Both linebackers leaving. Are you comfortable just bringing back one? None. What's Justin Strnad been doing behind the scenes? These guys that are slowly developing that you're not seeing on game day, but that's the plan. That's the blueprint for having a healthy roster. You're getting those guys in the 3rd to 5th round, maybe 6th or 7th, but 3rd to 5th. They're like 2-3 years down the line, and then hopefully by year 3, year 4, you have a spot for them where they can take it. But Roy Osborne coming in here saying, with all the hiking you're doing, did your beer fund go down? My beer fund did not go down, but a few people have been saying Nick's REI fund, which I appreciate as well because some of that hiking gear is kind of expensive, but it's a good time. We got Michael coming in here. Good morning, Nick and Scott from Broncos for Breakfast. Good morning, Greg Smith. Aloha.
Aloha.
And Broncos country. Go Broncos. Dan Smoot saying overanalyzing before any real bullets are flying. Dan, if we weren't out here overanalyzing, the show would be, hey guys, good to see you. We'll see you tomorrow. And then just black screen.
Well, and also the other part of that is it's not even just overanalyzing, it's the overreacting. I call this the season the season to overreact. 'Tis the season for overreactions. People are making, it's not quite as bad in the NFL as it is in college, with the one loss and you're done type of thing at times. But it is also the season not only to overanalyze, that's constant, but to overreact.
Yep. That's not too high, not too low, right? And that's one of the things that's with Drew Lock, it's hard because he is such a roller coaster, right? So hopefully, and that sounds like it's been the case in camp as well. But we'll see what happens. We got Stoked Fly Fishing coming in here. Stoked, get at me, buddy. I've been fly fishing once in Iowa, and I am dying to get out there. I'm just a drive away from Montana, Wyoming, Idaho now. So get me out there in the water, buddy. That'd be great.
I don't know if it's always like this, but I was biased by my first impression of fly fishing. There's some guys out there fishing. There was a guy fly fishing on the pond, and it was almost like he already had him on his hook. He was just pulling the fish out. Every cast pulling him. I was like, wow, fly fishing's legit. So I don't know if it's always that easy, but it made an impression on me as a kid.
It's a good time. You do need it's hard to do it out here in Washington because there's not that many actually good flat rivers. A lot of them are cascading down, probably hence the Cascade Mountains. A lot of good backcountry alpine lake fishing, though. So got a pack route, excited to get out there. But he says, I've been watching from the first episode. You guys rock. Also, Moody for Glasgow. Moody is a beast. This is another one we were just talking about, year 3, year 4 for those 3rd to 5th round picks. Hopefully they are in a spot where they can take over for a guy who's leaving. Glasgow has 2 years left on his deal, but the way I believe it's 2 years, it might be 3 years, but the way it's set up, I think after this year, the dead cap is minimal. So if Glasgow, they want to create a little bit of room and they're excited about not only Moody, but maybe Cushenberry takes a step forward and they want to see Miners at guard, they could move on from Glasgow for a good cap savings with relative dead cap, I believe, after this year. But Scott's probably checking behind the scenes that Glasgow contract. But it's probably, you're talking 2022 there for Moody taking over for Glasgow, unless there's an injury. Always the caveat, for all these guys. But if there's an injury, that changes the formula.
Well, that's the one that was so surprising to me, and why you have so much. It's a chicken or the egg type of thing. You've got so much cap room because you don't have a $25 million quarterback. But is the question around this team because you don't have a $25 million quarterback? But when you're looking at the cap room on this, and you go, it's like, wait a minute, the cap hit is number 1, Von Miller. Yeah, okay. Number 2, Graham Glasgow, guard. What? That's pretty shocking to me. And to me, that makes a candidate for you could be in trouble. His dead cap number this year is 17.5, but after the 6 and then the 3. Yeah. So he's got 2 years after this year and a $6 million cap hit, especially if you spread it over 2 years after whatever the deadline is, June 1st. Mm-hmm. It's nothing. So,
what if they trade him? Is it the same?
I would imagine you'd probably know that better than I would. If they trade him, the cap hit stays. Your dead cap money doesn't matter. However, you lose that guy, unless he retires, then it's great. You give your money back. That's why Aaron Rodgers was never going to do the Green Bay Packers a favor and retire, pay all that money back and get him out from under that hit. No way. But his cap hit number is 12, but his dead cap going into next year is just 6. So depending on if you need that money right now, Denver's got money they can't spend. So, or at least aren't spending. So, we talked about bringing some of those guys back, and when they're signing and you're going to have to pay them more money, well, fine. Who was that we were talking about? Was it Melvin Gordon last week, Nick? We were saying, you may have overpaid for him, but the question I ask is, who did you lose because you paid him? It's like, well, that money, going back to the Braves, when the Braves lost Brian McCann, it's because they gave BJ Upton the same contract. I'm like, okay, that hurts. He's like, but you didn't lose anything by spending that money on Melvin Gordon because you have money. So anyway, those are my thoughts.
Yep. Absolutely. And
you got options. If you need some money, there's a pretty good spot.
Absolutely. Nope, you're totally right. Make sure to hit that like button, folks, as Dylan says. We got some Nick propaganda in here now. There we go. Nick is great. Also, my favorite propaganda, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Hawkeyes all over the roster. The Iowa Broncos, I think they now have 5 or 6 Hawkeyes on the team. So that's always great to see. I know that my coworker, Eric Trickle, likes to give me a hard time saying the reason the Broncos are so bad is because they have so many Iowa Hawkeyes. But it's a good program. I enjoy my Hawks on there, and it makes it really hard for me to be non-biased because I think I've done a pretty good job overall, like removing my fan goggles when it comes to the Broncos. That's because I put on 2 pairs for the Hawkeyes. So when it comes to Hawkeyes on the Broncos, it's like, no offense, I'm going to give him every benefit of the doubt because I have a very hard time removing that bias, and I'll be completely upfront with you on that one.
You just, as a Cleveland-born Atlanta grown-up sports fan, you're not going to find a more cynical SOB than me. Yeah. So the bias works the other direction when you usually talk to an Atlanta fan. No, we're going to lose. No, he's going to suck. No, everything's going to be bad. That's how we are. So the bias usually works in the other direction.
Yep. No, absolutely. That's a good point there. We got Richie Rich coming in the house. Good to see you. Good morning. He says Broncos for brunch always. So a little bit earlier there for Richie Rich. Nick and Scott, aside from Bowles, who is stepping up and who are the winners who can still instill that leadership and demand greatness? I think he's talking about specifically along the offense here. And honestly, the only one that would come to mind that would have the skins on the wall, if you will, would be Graham Glasgow because he's gotten that big contract. He's seen a thing or two. He's been in the league. He played at Michigan. And as Scott said, he is the second highest paid Bronco this year, cap hit wise. Now, some of that is cap finagling because the Broncos made it so Justin Simmons and Garrett Bowles their cap hits are low this year. They balloon a lot in 2022 to make up for that. So that's part of the nature of that. But I think the other one on offense would be Graham Glasgow. I think Noah Fant's too young right now. Jerry Jeudy still got to prove it. Cortland Sutton working off the injury. Melvin Gordon, while he is here, he's older. He's made the money. He's kind of somewhat of a mercenary. Also, Melvin Gordon's kind of a different dude. He likes to be out there sipping wine and listen to classical music. So good for him. But I don't think he's as much of a the guy that you're looking for to be that leader on the team.
Doesn't relate to everybody quite as well.
That's what it sounds like. But
and I kind of glossed over the first part of that question because I was thinking, well, Garrett Bowles. I'm like, wait, aside from Bowles, I'm like, Garrett Bowles is the one that seems to really be stepping up. And you don't need too many. You got to have some followers too. So, the fact that you've got a couple of them out there, and you hope, you hope it's your quarterback. If Teddy's going to start, then you got no doubt who your on-field leader is going to be. Teddy's that guy. If Drew's going to start, he needs to own it. He'll need to own it and step up. It's tough to be that guy until you win that position, though. So guys in the back of their mind kind of say, it's kind of like playing for a coach that you know is on his way out. It's like, yeah, listen, whatever you say, I'm just biding my time until you're gone. So until Drew, whoever ends up being the guy at the quarterback, I think will automatically elevate to one of those positions.
100%. And Richie Rich says both sides of the ball. You have plenty of options on the defensive side of the ball. Bradley Chubb is one. He's about to get a big contract. He's also been, he came in as a man. There was no questions. Like Von Miller came in, a little, lovey-dovey, loosey-goosey. There was never a question about Bradley Chubb's demeanor. I mean, he came in, he's businesslike day one. Justin Simmons obviously is another one as well. Shelby Harris is a leader on that side of the ball. Draymond Jones probably about to get paid here pretty soon. He could be one. Whatever linebacker they end up paying, if either of them, Josie Jewell or Alexander Johnson, can bring some leadership as well. So there are options galore on the defensive side of the ball. On the offense, though, it's really hard if it's not the quarterback. And right now, it's definitely not the quarterback. So
well, and going on the defense, I said Kareem Jackson earlier. There's so many veterans on defense mixed in with the young players. It's a really nice mix. And then the veterans are typically have somebody behind them that can play. So they're being pushed. Just talking about the makeup of this team, it's either, other than the quarterback position, which we've said a zillion times, the guys that are on the last year of their contracts have somebody pushing them. So there's two forms of motivation there. One, I'm playing for another contract, so that's good. Two, the guy behind me sees an opening. I want it. I want you to think you don't need to pay this guy. So you're getting the best out of two positions because of the motivation in there. And I think talking about wasted year again on the roster, I think this roster is really set up well for internal competition to push these guys to be their best. And frankly, that includes a quarterback position because they did the exact same thing bringing in Teddy.
Yep.
Teddy coming in to push Drew Lock. So I love the makeup of this team.
Yep. It's I will say though, Scott, being a fan of this team, covering this team, it is a little bit jealousy invoking, hearing about how absolutely incredible Justin Fields and Trey Lance are looking so far in camp. Now it's camp. We will see when the bullets are flying. I'm not there to see it live, so I can't speak, or if it's just the the fan goggles hype machine going on because they're trying to drum up fan support, fan hope, because that increases numbers and that means more eyeballs, that means more money, etc. But
yeah, I'd be interested. What are media? You can't trust media. You just can't. I'll tell you what I think, but you gotta go and verify. We're media of sorts, but I've seen so many times where beat writers, they just don't know what they're looking at.
Nope.
And they don't know that certain things are set up to succeed. The offense should be killing the defense in preseason. They should be killing them. You talked about was Sternad getting toasted a couple times at linebacker versus tight end. Well, they should. You get a one-on-one. If you can isolate a linebacker and your tight end, that should be a completion every time. Well, guess what they're doing most of the time in practice? Isolating one-on-ones. I got no safety help. I got no pass rush. I got no quarterback under pressure. And I got both sides of the field with nobody on either side. Man, if I can't get open and make a catch, then I got to go find another place to work. Yep. So, a lot of that is geared
situational
for the offense. It's so hard to play offense. I mean, it doesn't seem that way with the way the points are going. but we've talked about it before. 11 guys, if one guy screws up on offense, it can end a play. On defense, if one guy does his job right, it can end a play. So it's hard to play offense. So a lot of the preseason is about getting the offense up to speed, and they really, really hold back the defense. You're not allowed to hit. Can't go to the ground. Can't hit the quarterback. You can't do any of those things.
Nope.
So going back to what Nick says, let's see what happens when you're allowed to hit some of these guys, and you've got defenses flying all over the place, changing up their coverages, blitz coming from 18 different directions. And then we'll see. That said, the early returns on these guys, we liked them for a reason too.
Yeah, absolutely. God, and I had a point to make. Totally lost it. Maybe it'll come back.
I talked too long. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I had it, and then I was looking at the comments here, and then boop, it's gone. It's out of the head. Leroy Williams coming in here saying that the Broncos have a losing season this year, and Fangio is fired. Who would you want as the head coach? Can we get a redo and bring Kyle Shanahan in here? Who do I want? Who's possible? This is me just, putting on I'm taking off the host cap here. For 1 second, putting on the aluminum tinfoil hat, looking for connections. There's one name that maybe it's a little bit early in their career to be a head coach, but everybody's looking for the next offensive wonder kid, right? For head coach and play calling, with ties to the organization in a multitude of ways. Clint Kubiak is the offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. You have, obviously, the Kubiaks have a long connection in Denver. And now you have George Payton in here, who knows Clint Kubiak because what he's done in Minnesota. And that's one that it's like, maybe it's a year early, but for the offensive young play callers, if the Vikings offense kills it this year, which they were killing it last year, we're seeing the success of Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland and also Kyle Shanahan, that offense there. George Payton, he knows him. He can call over to Rick Spielman, I think is the general manager there in Minnesota, and be like, hey, Clint, is he ready? And Rick's gonna be like, listen, this kid, brilliant, knows the offense, innovative, can lead a room, et cetera, et cetera. This positive outcome. So Clint Kubiak is a name I'm keeping in the back of my mind for that scenario.
How about a guy with Colorado ties that seemed to be close a lot last year, getting a very nice internship under Andy Reid? What about Eric Bieniemy? He interviewed a lot of places last year. Offensive coordinator, Kansas City Chiefs. I thought he could end up with the opening with the Falcons. I don't know why he gets passed over, but maybe it's not time yet. But it's coming up. I feel like he's going to get a shot sooner rather than later.
This does sound like pure. I will say this is pure hearsay because I can't verify it, but there does sound like there was some off the field problems Bieniemy had while he was in Boulder. And that makes the connection a little bit hard. Now, that didn't stop Vance Joseph from being hired in Denver, who also had some off the field stuff going on there. But we have Jeremy coming in saying he has some Colorado skeletons in his closet. He's definitely one, though, that would make a lot of sense. Also, I know he just signed a big contract and nobody wants to go defense back to defense, but Todd Bowles is an incredible play caller, a good leader. Everywhere he's been a defensive coordinator, he's been awesome. And the Jets were set up to fail. He didn't have a chance with the New York Jets there as the head coach, and he kept their head above water there. Actually, they were competent there for a little bit with him, despite how bad the roster was. And then you see them go to Adam Gase, and they completely, the wheels fall off. So Todd Bowles is going to get a chance. I like Todd Bowles a lot.
Steve Spurrier failed with Washington. I'm like, did you see the Washington Redskins franchise for the last 20 years? Everybody has failed in Washington, even Joe Gibbs the second time around. So Steve Spurrier is a heck of a coach. So again, it's hard to judge, what else is there? I don't necessarily want Adam Gase, but I'm not going to judge just based on what I see with the New York Jets.
No, yep, you're absolutely right. And some people are asking, we had one right here. Okay. Chad Irak coming in here. Good to see you, Chad. Who do you think is the starting quarterback on Saturday? Well, gosh, we've just been so much in the comments. We might as well get to the actual, topic here, the headliner. It does sound like Drew Lock is inching ahead in this quarterback competition so far. Now we still have the majority of the data to go left. It's like calling a baseball game after the, top of the fourth is over. It's like, okay, it's over. No, we still got a lot of innings to play just yet to make this decision. But it does sound like Drew Lock, after scrimmage this past week, is starting to inch ahead a little bit. He's creating more explosive plays, while the protection of the football has honestly been about equal for both quarterbacks. So that's the way it's leaning, but we still got a long way to go. So who's going to be the starting quarterback? I would be shocked if it's not Drew Lock. right now, given how close the competition has been, and that the fact that he's the incumbent. Also, 2 years left to control, younger guy. Right now, I would assume it's going to be Drew Lock.
All right, it's taken 50 minutes, but we are now to our topic, at
Did
least
it.
that we had on our YouTube title. And speaking of overreactions, it sounds to me that Drew Lock, pretty much everybody agrees that he won the day on Sunday. But does that put him ahead? Because from everything I read, everything I see was saying that Teddy Bridgewater had been ahead up to that point. So are they still fairly even? What is it? Can Drew Lock build on this? Because it's a good step, but does that put him ahead right now? That said, the incumbent's going to start. It's close enough that the guy that's been on the roster for 2 years, he's going to start. I'll be pretty surprised if Drew Lock doesn't start and if Teddy Bridgewater comes in later. But I wouldn't go so far as to say that Drew Lock has pushed ahead in the quarterback race. I think he had a good day, from what I understand, from everything I'm hearing, reading, and checking out, that he had a good day on Sunday, and now he's got to build on that. We know he's capable of good days. He's got a magnificent arm.
Yep.
Can he build on that? Can he show some consistency? Once he's done that, it's his. The job's his. But he's got to do that first.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. We got Clinton Reisig coming in here, Reisig, saying, I support Lock. We expect a top 5 defense and hopefully an improved offensive line and other offensive improvement. I support both these quarterbacks, but I'm also, you guys probably, if you followed us long enough now, you know my brand. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm going to let you know, because I do not believe in, I'm not here to build fantasies. I'm going to try to be as realistic as possible. And if that means tempering expectations or telling you guys you're being ridiculous and not fair, whether that be Broncos last season with Drew Lock and we don't know what's going to happen, versus Garrett Bowles, especially after his rookie season, just try to not too high, not too low. As I said earlier, oh man, here we go. Broncos 17-0 with the orange, loving the orange here, the $20 super over on YouTube. Broncos 17-0. He always comes in one of the last minutes. So we appreciate you for that.
Finish strong. It's like, watching that 400 relay.
Absolutely.
The Broncos 17-0 runs anchor for Broncos for breakfast.
There we go. Broncos 17-0 says 104.3 who? And well, we appreciate the comment there. I'm not going to disparage anybody out there for the content they do or whatever. I would say 104.3 has a reputation of being doomsdayers, and a little bit of inflammatory articles and comments. But there's plenty of good work out there, and there's a lot of people who love them, and different strokes for different folks. And obviously, they're doing something right. So I appreciate them. Also, if all the people in the media are saying the exact same thing when there's something as subjective as what's going on in camp and football in general, then we have something wrong going on. We need some different.
Or it's got to be blatantly obvious.
Yes, or that.
or it's got to be blatantly obvious.
Yep.
Which happens. So and so looks fantastic. And then you hear that 10 times. Pretty good chance he looked good. He's looked good.
Yep, absolutely. So we appreciate that very much, but I'm not going to be here to disparage anybody but the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm here for that all the time, no matter what. 100%.
Vegas. God, I don't know if I'll ever be able to say that. I don't even write it. I'll say Raiders, but I that just is wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. Wrong. Las Vegas Raiders. Does that sit well with everybody else, or do you like the fact that it sounds ridiculous because they're the Raiders?
I'm excited about it because flights to Vegas are extremely cheap. So that's the biggest thing. And also, I think the Raiders probably lost their home field advantage going from Oakland to Las Vegas because it's going to be a visiting fan destination, a beautiful stadium, great city. And that means that Broncos essentially might have an extra, lose one of their away games because playing in the Coliseum was rough and dangerous and tough. Not the case anymore. So I think that's going to be great. There's going to be a bunch of luxury suites with businesses and whatnot out there in Vegas. And now you also have the Chargers, who have no fan base for now. I'm curious to see what Justin Herbert's career can do for that fan base in a new city. But right now, the Broncos have 2 divisional opponents that don't really have a great, strong fan presence in the stadium itself. So we'll see. They're big floppy lock saying my arm is not floppy. Good to hear that big floppy lock. Oh, no. Are you here?
Nick is freezing up just a little bit. So maybe I'm going to go solo for the rest of the day. Give him just a second. It is just him, and I'm not the one that's frozen up, right? I know Jeremy's real active right now.
I'm
Robert,
back.
I see you as
I think.
Dave. So I think it's him. I'm still fairly clear.
Am I back?
Kinda. You're just kind of pixelated.
Ah, man. Sometimes, you think with Seattle would have amazing internet with being the tech capital of the world, but sometimes it's not the case.
I'm down in kind of in a hole by the river, and I don't get anything for a cell signal. But I've got 2 options for gig speed internet, which is very nice. Which is very nice down here. So, but yeah, I went to Oakland. I went to the Coliseum. And when the Falcons played there, and everybody warned me. I'm like, listen, I don't know, be polite and keep, don't antagonize people. And I haven't had any problems anywhere at any stadiums before. So, I feel like sometimes a lot of the people that find trouble or that are finding trouble, they're kind of looking for it. I don't know.
No comment on that one. But that's I've been to a few college games, right? Sometimes they're, especially in Wisconsin, but I partook in a few pregame festivities as well. So things can be a little.
You get 18 to 22-year-olds that are sitting there drinking. I mean, again, they're looking for it half the time too. I'm either going to hook up or going to fight. That's it. Maybe both. So anyway, I think we probably should put a bow on this one because Nick's coming in and out. And I just want to say, I want to say thank you to everybody that came in. We have Max, Gary. I know your heart was in it. I couldn't tell for sure if it was a star, but we need to give you a shout out anyway. Andrew Lampy, Steve Sconey or Scotty, Ronjo, Broncos 17-0, Max Power. I said, but I only said your first name. Appreciate y'all for sure. We enjoy the conversation that comes through here, and looks like I'm definitely by myself now. And we appreciate y'all being on here. I enjoy talking about other teams and the players coming through. So love having y'all, love being part of this show. And it's almost football time. We've actually got real football that we can talk about on next time we do this on Tuesday. We'll lead into the preseason game on Thursday. Tuesday, we'll actually be able to review. We've been previewing for 6 months now. I'm looking forward to being able to, and Richie Rich says, welcome to the Scott Kennedy channel. Looking forward to being able to talk about the review, about what we've seen. And I think as much as we've enjoyed doing this, I honestly think that's where this podcast will go to the next level, because it's the analyzing and stuff that Nick and I both enjoy really more than anything. So I'm so glad that football is here.
Yeah, and one thing that's really nice about Scott and I being out of market, so to speak, when it comes to the Broncos, is no chance for echo chambers up in here, right? We're not in the Denver bubble, so we're not gonna hop on the same narratives. We're gonna have our own narratives, based on our own opinion.
Might like this. He said, 104.3 who? For me, that was literally, I'm like, oh, that must be a local radio station. I don't know who the hell that is. Exactly. So I'm not gonna hear everything else. I'm gonna take everything and I'm gonna see it from 2 miles high, because we're already a mile up. I'm going to take the 2 mile high vision and see what I see. And, I try and keep everything positive. But if you ask me a question, you'll get an honest answer.
Yep. And we're both not, although I can ramble on for a bit, we're both honest enough to say, when we don't know, or we're not a super strong opinion on something, we'll let you know. But guys, it's going to have to do it for us today. Coming up in an hour, and the family is still here. Of course, when I logged out and logged back in, I lost everybody in the chat. But so I think Scott was running through everybody who donated today just a second ago. So I want to give a shout out to a few off the top of my head. Again, Broncos 17-0, of course, was one of them. We had Gary Leeds Palmer was in the house. Ronjo was as well. Mohammed Badri, I think, was in the house as well. So good to see you guys. Gary Leeds Palmer, of course. Peter Middleton, also over in Cambodia. Hope you're doing well. The beautiful. You got to send us some sunset pics out there. I've seen. I've had some friends that have gone to that area, and beautiful, beautiful. So thanks everybody for joining us today. If you like the content, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies. I mean, hell, who cares? You can follow us both on Twitter. Scott at Scout Kennedy and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. While you guys are there, also follow us at Mile High Huddle and at Huddle Up Pod. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, click the thumbs up. We got 2 Wow Reacts today. Joseph Fisher and Tommy Simmers got some hearts coming in. DeAndre Witherspoon, Victor Rios, Roy Osborne. If you guys are joining us on Facebook, though, follow us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. If you're joining us on YouTube today, subscribe, like, and share.
These
That can be
credits are longer than a movie.
Yeah, right. We did the super speed ones. Subscribe, like, and share. Also, Scott's channel. Subscribe, like, and share to Scott's channel as well. I still have on my clipboard Scott's sub confirmation here. Click any of these links, guys. We got Facebook here. We got YouTube here. We got Periscope here. We got Twitch. Click Scott's channel. He's going to have a lot of good stuff coming in. Appreciate everybody coming in because we're at an hour now. Scott, what's the rest of the day look like for you? Finding a new light bulb?
Yeah, I got to change the light bulb since I went dark over here. Actually, my kids have a day off. That doesn't happen when they play sports, 9 times in a 7-day week. So I might go on a bicycle ride and get ready for Chelsea and Villarreal tomorrow, Super Cup. So we got real soccer coming up too. So it's an exciting time.
And another little shout out here. They should just hire me as a PR person for them. But Scott, I know you're a cyclist. You enjoy riding the bike. A lot of people out here in Seattle will take the ferry over to the San Juan Islands and they'll just bike around. They're small enough and beautiful enough that people will not to pay for the ferry, and they will just bike the islands. And it's very accessible that way and beautiful. So shout out to the San Juans. Shout out to you guys. Love y'all. We'll see you again Thursday morning. I'm losing the days of the week to talk about what's been going on in the Broncos practices against the Vikings. Love y'all. Stay safe and go Broncos.